Hey everyone, today we are diving into a really fascinating puzzle that's right at the heart of our modern world: how we feed ourselves. And let me tell you, the answer is way more complicated than you might think.
So here it is, the big question we're unpacking. The numbers don't lie. Our farms, our fields, our fisheries, they're more productive than they have ever been. We literally have a global surplus of food. And yet, hunger is still this devastating, persistent crisis. So how is that even possible? Well, the story really begins with a fundamental conflict in how we produce all that food in the first place.
All right, so it really all boils down to this one major conflict, a tension that sits right at the very heart of modern agriculture.
Now, what's so great about this slide is how it just lays out these two competing ideas perfectly. On one side, you've got productivity, this relentless strive to get the absolute most out of every acre, using industrial methods to feed over 8 billion people. And on the other side, you've got sustainability, the absolutely critical need to preserve our environment, our soil, and our water for future generations. For decades, our entire global food system has been this giant, high-stakes tightrope walk between these two forces.
And listen, this isn't some abstract idea, right? This conflict plays out in the actual technologies we've invented to grow our food, and each one comes with its own set of pretty serious trade-offs.
Okay, first up, GMOs. I'm sure you've heard the term thrown around. Put simply, our source material defines them as organisms whose DNA has been scientifically altered in a lab to give them some kind of desirable trait. So think of corn that can survive a drought, or soybeans that give you a much bigger harvest.
And boom, here it is again, that trade-off we were just talking about, clear as day. The upsides, totally clear. You get higher output and crops that are better able to handle our changing climate. But the critiques? They're pretty serious too, pointing to a heavy reliance on chemical pesticides and fertilizers, and raising some really valid questions about the potential long-term risks to both the environment and maybe even our own health. Okay, so let's move from the land to the water. Aquaculture, or what most of us just call fish farming, has absolutely exploded. It's now a massive source of protein for the world, especially in places like Southeast Asia. It's basically exactly what it sounds like, farming but for fish, shrimp, and oysters, all in controlled pens or ponds.
And you guessed it, we see that exact same dilemma pop up again. On one hand, it gives us a vital, controlled source of seafood for billions of people. But on the other hand, these farms can use a ton of energy, they can pollute the water nearby, and they can potentially reduce biodiversity. It's that classic productivity versus sustainability question all over again.
So, with all this big industrial-scale stuff going on, it's probably no surprise that a powerful counter-movement has started to bubble up. It's really driven by consumers and smaller-scale farmers who are looking for a different way forward.
And this slide, it gives you a fantastic snapshot of what that shift looks like. You've got really cool ideas like urban farming, which turns city spaces green. There are CSAs where you can basically buy a share in a local farm's harvest for the season. And of course, the ones we all know, like the organic and local food movements, all focused on shortening that distance from the farm to your table. Every single one of these is a pushback, a direct reaction to the sheer scale and the challenges of industrial agriculture.
Okay, so we've talked about how we make the food, we can make enough, and we're even seeing these cool shifts towards doing it more sustainably. But that just brings us right back to that huge question we started with. If we have all the food, why are people still going hungry? The answer, as it turns out, has way less to do with farming and a whole lot more to do with the system itself.
So here's the absolute key. The problem isn't making the food, it's getting it to people. It's this whole series of hidden hurdles. You see things like food insecurity, which is just a way of saying people can't reliably get a healthy diet. Then there are food deserts, which are entire neighborhoods that just don't have access to fresh, affordable food. Then you start layering on things like broken infrastructure, the wild effects of climate change, and the constant loss of good farmland. These are the real roadblocks.
And get ready for this, because this number is it's mind-boggling. 1/4, a full 1/4 of all the food produced in the entire world is lost simply because of bad storage. Pests get into silos, food spoils before it can even be processed. That is a colossal amount of waste, and it's built right into a broken system.
And of course, you have to follow the money, right? Economics plays a massive role here. Huge industrial farms, they benefit from what economists call economies of scale. Basically, they can produce stuff so much cheaper that they often squeeze out smaller family farms. On top of that, you have government subsidies, especially in places like the US, that often guarantee a price for just a few major crops, like corn and soy. This basically encourages farmers to just plant wall-to-wall corn and soy, which discourages the very crop diversity that's so important for healthy soil and a resilient food supply.
You know, this quote from the source material we're looking at it hits the nail on the head. We have the technology, the mastery to produce incredible amounts of food. But we're now at this critical crossroads where we absolutely have to balance that power with our responsibility to the planet, and, maybe even more importantly, to each other.
So when you boil it all down, it's not really a harvest problem, is it? It's a systems problem. We can grow the food. The real challenge, the real puzzle, is building a smarter, fairer, and more sustainable system to get that food to everyone, everywhere. So I'll leave you with this. What do you think is the very first step we need to take? That's it for this one. Thanks for diving in with me.